Well, hello and welcome to the first episode of a show we've come out. It's 2025, and we're here to feature LGBTQ plus courageous change makers.
I like
And I
that.
know I felt like it really encapsulates a lot of what we're all, it's 2025. Things are different now in a wide variety of ways.
Yeah.
And you and I have been in each other's lives for almost 30 years now.
Geez, it's been a long time. Like a
But
really long time.
and what's important, and I think people will see, we'll make sure we kind of weave in during the conversation about kind of how you are not just a courageous change maker, but you've been a disruptor for many years as far as kind of because you and I had met each other in the very beginnings of that .com era, and here we
Yeah.
were running around with gaywire.com, and you had started Q Magazine, and that's how our worlds came together.
Yeah. No, it was really interesting because I remember that so well. I remember like thinking to myself, how come there's nothing digital about gay travel? And this was like way back when, right? Like, which
Yep,
now seems kind of ridiculous.
yep.
But yeah, and so kind of in my own sort of very archaic format, launched that
Yep.
with two straight women, by the way, which was
I,
pretty funny.
I remember.
And came to you, and then we ended up working together, which was amazing.
No, that started it's the start of a beautiful lots of things. But but from that point, from that point, then your career had taken off. You went to Grindr, especially at the early days there. And tell us a little bit about kind of that path.
Yeah, I mean, I don't correct me here if anybody's listening from the old Grinder days, but I think I was employee number three or four. I'm not like I don't remember exactly,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, it was I was doing gay marketing already with Visit Britain and Visit London,
Yeah. Right.
and had been doing that for a few years, and that sort of rolled out of that travel product that you and I worked on together, and it was pretty cool. And then heard about Grinder. I was in P Town, and then reached out to the CEO at the time and just said, I want to be part of this because I've always been a little bit of a tech nerd,
Yeah.
like there's something about it. Like I love technology. And got back to me. We started working as a contractor. I was still living in Boston at the time. Most everybody else was in LA,
Yeah.
and really saw Grinder grow from like 150,000 users to over 5 million users while I was there.
Yeah.
And I have a really funny story about that. If we have time later, I'll tell you. But it has to do with me going to Serbia, my home,
Yeah.
my home base where I
Yep.
was born, and seeing Grinder grow in this tiny little village where the person was like 400 miles away, and then it was 100 miles away, and then it was like 10 feet away, and I'm like looking around in this village, going, "Where's this other gay person in the village?" you know? So it was pretty funny, and a place called Bina Bashta of all places, which is really tiny. It sounds
Yeah.
tiny. Yeah, so Grinder was, I guess it was my first disruption, right? Like it was, no one had put dating on a phone, and all of us, including myself, were at home at night, not going out to the bars and
Yeah.
sitting on sites, and trying to find dates or hookups or whatever you were looking for at the time. And then Grinder got everybody back on their phones, or got people on their phones and back out into the bars, because that was
Yeah.
kind of our strategy back then, was to be at bars and get people to meet each other also one to one.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And when you look at it that way from a very big picture, that's one of the areas that you and I have had the most in common, which is that, for myself, a lot of folks know I was an engineer once, and then I got bored and went out into the world of sales as a sales engineer. And then internet came along, but it was the internet comes along and it was being able to put those two pieces together. And a lot of what you've been doing from back then, including where you're at today, is taking these bits and pieces of your experience, your career, and so forth, and being able to put those together into especially kind of staying on top of some of the most current technology, which of course today is AI and a lot of the artificial intelligence conversations that are going on today.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, I've always been a tech geek. I think for a short time, I even had a website that was called Gay Gadget, like
Yes.
where I was trying to feature, and really it was a way for me to get free phones, the latest free phones. And it kind of worked. Verizon kind of caught on that I had some good followers. But yeah, it was, I love technology. I love how technology improves our lives. I love how
Yeah.
it changes things, and the formula is pretty simple, like look at things around you that have been the same way for a long time,
Yeah.
and see if there's a better way to improve them. And that's kind of what I've been doing my whole career.
Well, and that's what brings us to today, because you've just launched yesterday a whole new company called Job Bolt. But I think I get it. I understood it as far as the idea is being able to for folks not to use the resume, but being able to upload their video interviews and using AI so that you can kind of eliminate a lot of the labor and also a lot of the bias and so forth that exists in today's current hiring process.
Yeah, it's actually, we even take it a step further. So we're not we're not asking people to upload anything. What we're doing literally is you are having a two-way interview, much like you and I are right now, with an AI persona. It looks like a human, it speaks like a human, it has pre-approved questions that the hiring manager or HR has approved, and it's asking you those questions.
Yeah.
And you are responding on video. And what we're doing then is analyzing the responses and comparing them to not only the optimal answer based on databases of answers, but also basing it on how you are performing compared to other people
Yeah.
that have also responded to the questions. And it's pretty cool,
Yeah.
it took me a while. Like, honestly, like I thought, wow, this is such a cool idea, but are people going to feel comfortable talking to something that's not really real, right?
Yeah.
But then I look at the flip side of it and I say to myself, they're not even getting a chance to tell their story without this. Like, right? Like, people are applying for jobs, they're sending in their resumes, and they're not hearing anything, and it goes into a black hole, right?
Yeah.
So at least this opportunity is they're heard, their answers are being analyzed, and it's being provided and scored to the hiring manager. So you're not just laying on the floor of a piece of paper or a resume, you know. And part of the problem is honestly, like, most people are optimizing their resumes now using ChatGPT and some other AI, and the problem is there are HR people are overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
Like, they
Yeah.
can't go through 1,000 resumes. And what we're doing is we're saying, hey, listen, go through some resumes if you want, pick out the 500 that you want, or don't. But all you have to do is send a link to all of your applicants, and it's user specific. We generate it with a password, and they can come on and they will be interviewed at their convenience within the time frame that you want them to be interviewed. And you will then be able to just go and check tomorrow, and you've already interviewed 500 people for this role.
Yeah.
And you'll know who your top candidates are. You'll see who the top people are at the top, because it's not a piece of paper, it's how they're answering.
But isn't the interviewer or the company that's hiring, is AI helping them weed through those 500 interviews?
No, it's not. Well, it is in a way, in the sense that it's going to grade each person, like it's going to
Okay.
give them a score, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the people that answer more thoroughly and better and know what they're talking about, they're going to get a higher grade, so they'll go to the top,
Yeah.
right? And the people that honestly use ChatGPT or any other AI program and optimize their resume, and they were an events coordinator in college, and all of a sudden now they're an events specialist, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's those people. It'll become pretty clear that they don't know how to answer the question, right? Or they don't know how to answer the question as well as the other people that answer the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is really pretty cool, actually. And what's really interesting is we've programmed it in a way that it will ask follow-up questions. So, like, if I was asked a question like, have you worked on events? And I said, yes, I've worked on events. It will follow up and say, can you give me more specifics? Like, what kind of events did you work on?
Yeah.
How many events did you work on? So, it drills down to make sure that you're given the opportunity to answer the best way possible for yourself, so that your score is a real score.
Can I pick my interviewers? So maybe I'm in the mood for Judy, or I might be more in the mood for Bryce.
Right now it's random, but we are looking at giving companies, and if the companies approve,
Yeah.
giving people the opportunity to pick what interviewer they want. Like, and maybe someone wants a sexier guy to interview or something. I don't know. So it just depends. But right now it's pretty random. Like we have different personas that come on. They're all the same personality. They're just
Yes.
yeah,
You knew I picked Judy for a reason, but we'll
yeah,
leave that for another day.
yes. No, I caught it. I just
But
didn't run with
what's
it.
one of the things that's important, I noticed you put out there a lot on your website and so forth, that this process, especially in today's world where, not only is there a war on DEI, but there's a lot of folks that are going to be looking for jobs in the coming months. And the whole idea about DEI kind of being sidelined and removed from the hiring process with a lot of companies. It seems like just by using this technology and the concepts of reducing bias and kind of leveling the playing field, can you speak a little bit about that and how that's being integrated?
Yeah. So, I mean, resumes contain a lot of information. They contain what school you went to, what address you live in. There's a lot of room there, even names. There's a lot of room there for bias, right?
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting with this is we're interviewing people, we're asking them questions, and the AI is not judging them where they went to school or not judging them what neighborhood they live in or what's their address. It's literally basing it without any emotional response on this. It's basing it on the quality of their answers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then as far as, hiring goes, I mean, I think, listen, right now what's happening is people are applying for jobs and they're just not hearing back. I think the cool thing about this technology is, and as we sort of progress it and move it forward, because this is just phase one of what we're building out, you're going to get direct feedback. You're going to know right away how you did, if that's something the company wants to opt in for. Um, you can do training classes beforehand so that you can, it's not going to be the exact interview, but it may be a similar interview. So I don't want to give away all of our secret sauce, but there is so much more that we have planned. And where we're going with Job Bolt is pretty cool in the sense that you should, as an employer, not have to be so overwhelmed by the amount of applications that you can't really logically or realistically pick the top candidate.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't, as an applicant or interviewee, feel like you're not being heard or no one's even caring about you. So we're going to try to bridge that. And honestly, I think all of the current job boards and current websites out there for people applying for jobs, they've failed pretty miserably at this. And I think this is where AI can come in and automate some of these tasks, but at least give people the feeling that they've been heard.
Yeah. Well, and as you said in one of your, also on your site, AI, it's about AI helping people, not replacing them. And I think that's,
Exactly.
especially
Yep.
in today's world.
Yeah, no, 100%. Our goal is to enhance the lives of, listen, I, after working for many years at a company, got laid off, couldn't find a job,
Yeah.
to save my life, which is really unusual for me. Like I usually find work fairly quickly.
Yeah.
But it was like a ghost town. Like I was getting interviews, but like a lot of times I would have like 8 interviews at a place and then that wouldn't happen. So I was like probably one of the lucky ones because if you look at social media, so many people can't even get an interview.
Yeah.
And that's a problem, and it's not the people's fault that are hiring because they're just overwhelmed because now instead of like, in the old days, I'm going to go back to you and I, like, if you were looking for a job, you might send out like 5 resumes a day
Yeah.
because it takes a while to write a cover letter. It takes a while to customize your resume. Well, now you can do it so quickly. You can apply to 50 companies or 100 companies in a day.
Yeah.
Right. And unfortunately, that's just really overworked the system because it's archaic. And even with AI filtering and all of that stuff, it's just not giving Judy,
Yeah.
the recruiter, or Judy, the head of HR, enough time to be able to, or Jack or whatever, enough time to be able to, find the right candidate. There's no way they can physically go through 1,000 applicants.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so that's what we do. We tell them, okay, if you want us to interview 1,000 people for you, we'll interview 1,000 people for you. And
Yeah.
the other thing is cost. We figured out on average and by the way, this is like the first interview. It's like the screening interview. We encourage no one to make a decision just based on our interviews, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We think that you should have a second interview or third interview. But the idea here is like, we're going to help you find those top candidates, right? So that you can spend more time on them and less time on the other 950 or 990 that just don't make sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
cost savings, like I was going into this $20. We figured on average is what it costs to screen a candidate from the time that you pick up the phone, play phone tag with them, and then schedule that 30-minute call. And then also we know we can save a lot of time and turnaround time if we can get people screened right away at the beginning. The hiring time should be dramatically decreased. Like it should only take days, not months.
I'm excited to watch where this goes because, like I said, I mean, I probably, I meant to say this at the beginning, but this Courageous Changemakers is all about trying to bring voices to the forefront of people such as yourself who are actually out there doing something and doing something different, trying to make a change in business in an environment where a lot of things are changing on a daily basis. And so, especially when you're covering not just the LGBTQ space, but pretty much all across the board, you are helping people, whether it's age bias that they're dealing with or just so many different aspects of. The other part is it's so easy just to click a button on LinkedIn and apply for a job, and people do. So you're kind of really being able to kind of take that to that next level. And I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, me too. I have such big plans for Job Bolt, and hopefully, God willing, we'll get there. It's as whenever you are an entrepreneur, you take a lot of risks and you put a lot of your own skin into it because you got to make it work, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And but so far, I'm so encouraged by the messages that we've gotten, and I've got like 3 client calls this week already. So I'm really encouraged by the fact that people see this as a cost saving, time saving, more accurate way to hire people.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Well, I'm going to make sure there's links to everything when I post this on YouTube and so forth. So it'll be easy for folks to find you. But mostly, I'm just really glad that you were able to take a few moments of your time and share a bit of this story with our audience here.
Always a pleasure to see you, Matt. We need to get together more often.
We will.
All
Good
right.
seeing you.
Thank you. Bye.